Hi guys, today I'm going to be upgrading my HP Blackbird with a new motherboard, a new hard drive, and some other components, and I thought I'd walk you through this process. The HP Blackbird was a really fantastic rig put out for just a few months by Hewlett-Packard back in, I believe it was 2007. Way ahead of its time, and has influenced a lot of other case designs and high-end PC designs since then. It's really unfortunate that HP abandoned this project. Imagine Toyota without Lexus. At any rate, the existing setup is an Asus Striker Extreme with a 4-core, I believe it's a Q6600 in there. Slightly upgraded video card from what would have been in there originally. And you've got your 5 drive bays over here. Sorry about the rat's nest of wires right now. I'm going to be replacing the existing 775 motherboard with an Asus P8 Z68 Deluxe. That's an LGA 1155 motherboard. Got it over there. I'm going to be putting in the 2600 unclocked i7 Core 4 processor. Got a lot of good reviews on this baby. I'm also going to be replacing the existing memory with 16 total gigabytes of DDR3. And then lastly, I have installed a 6 gigabit per second SSD as the primary boot drive. And it ought to be the biggest performance improver of anything. I've also replaced some of the cooling fans with a couple of new nice Austrian Nocturas. It's a little quieter, just a little better product there. You're also going to need a new mounting bracket kit for the water cooler. You can order this from Corsair right now. This is late 2011. It's the H50 mounting bracket. It is an LGA 1156 bracket, but that's completely compatible with the LGA 1155. They're identical in terms of their physical dimensions. Got the Microsoft new version of Windows 7, some thermal paste for your cooler, some thermal paste remover, motherboard, and then again, let's take a look at the PC, just a couple of things. I replaced these cooling fans, which go in right here. The existing fans were these things. They were quite loud, so I went ahead and replaced those. I've tested these out with the existing installation, and they're much cooler. So just take that out to give us better access for the time being. Much cooler and quieter, I should have said. The radiator setup is a little strange with the Blackbird. The header, the cooling header, appears to be a standard H50 Corsair with a little bit of chromed metal stuck on top with the Voodoo logo. But the radiator setup is different. There's one radiator on the H50. This thing has one big radiator, which kind of resembles more the H100. So, and just removing this and looking at it, it was not clear to me how you would replace this radiator. So that may be a system limiter in terms of how you do that. I wanted to talk just for a second about the SSD drive, because that again is probably going to give you the biggest performance improvement of anything, even more so than the processor for most folks. There's 5 drive bays with the slide out trays in the HP Blackbird. You're probably, unless you're a bit more mechanically inclined than I am, going to have to put your SSD in your top drive bay, which is bay 5. And here's why. The kits often come with a mounting tray like this one. The SSD is screwed and affixed into this tray. The HP Blackbird, as many of you know, or may know, has, try to get the lighting there, has a back plate which mates to the back of the hard drives using these slide-in trays. you can see an existing hard drive. Oop. That was my klutz moment of the day. Old hard drive though, so hopefully no data was lost or damaged in that demonstration. These trays are really slick and work really, really well, but you can see the the geometry of the mating is pretty precise, and on these drives it's on the right side with this bracket. It's kind of in the middle, so it doesn't line up. Now I'm sure a person could drill into this thing and make it work if they were more mechanically inclined than I am. But this works if you put it in this top tray, because there is a gap here, and you can directly run your SATA 6 cable and your power cable through that gap and bypass the back plate. So you can only do that, I think, with this top tray, unless you're going to do, again, some more engineering to bypass the back plate connection. But just something to keep in mind. Alright, so I'm going to put this on the tripod and start doing some of the upgrade. Okay, so we've got to remove our video card. And then we'll have to remove the cooling bracket. Okay, now you can see I have gotten the motherboard removed. I have it rather ingloriously over here. They're both ATX boards, so the spacers and everything are exactly the same. One of the nice things about just upgrading an existing installation is that you don't have to install these spacers in your case. You're all good to go. One thing you might want to be a little careful of, there's a rat's nest of little connectors for your front panel LEDs that are down in this corner of the motherboard. Asus and several other manufacturers, I believe, give you this little doodad that you can plug them into. So I did that as I disassembled it. This will make the reinstallation very easy. You just put that whole thing in as a block. Here are your USB connectors. You want to pay attention, of course, to which side is your ground, and your IEEE 1394 connector, your FireWire connector. Some of us still like those. And we are ready to go. There's one thing I forgot to mention before. There is a third cooling fan. I don't know if you can see it over here for the hard drives. I have not replaced that. I may later, but it's another one like those fans that we had before. So next I'm going to proceed to cleaning the header on the cooler, and then I can move ahead with installing the motherboard, and I'll give you another update. You want to blow out, of course, your radiator grills, do a real good cleaning, and try to get as much of the dust and grime out of your case as you can. I am not putting in a new power supply. I've got an existing Silverstone 1100 watt power supply in there. And oh, let's see, one other thing. There is in my installation, and I assume that they were sold in different ways, there is both a SATA enabled Blu-ray drive, and there is an IDE CD-ROM Slim Bay drive down there. My new motherboard does not have an IDE connector, so I have just removed all the cabling from that drive. I never use it. I'm not intending to use it. I don't know if there's a cable that will allow you to adapt the IDE interface for the SATA interface. Probably is. But at any rate, you know, this one drive is much faster with the SATA interface. This is the one I've always used, so that's what I'll be sticking with. Be aware, though, on yours, if you're doing the same sort of thing, you will have to figure out what you're going to do with that drive. And if you only have 2 of those in your case, or 1 of those, you're going to have to figure out how to adapt the IDE Slim Bay to the SATA interface. Okay, I'll be back in a little bit. I have cleaned the header. There's various different solutions that are commercially available. Some people just say use plain alcohol. I like these Arctic Clean. It's like a $5 or $6 kit, and very easy. You just clean your existing thermal paste off of there so that it's nice and ready to accept the new paste with your new processor. Now I'm going to install the back plate for the new cooling hardware onto the motherboard. Corsair has a very nice video on their website that explains that. I would suggest taking a look at it there. I'm not going to video the whole thing, but it's very simple. You just put the back plate on the flip side underneath your processor, and then this equivalent, the new mounting bracket that I got from Corsair, will mate to that, and then the cooling head will go into that. And of course, at this point you need to start being very careful. You notice I've kept the new motherboard in the anti-static wrap from here on out. You want to make sure you're wearing your anti-static wristband or anti-static gloves, or doing something to ensure that you do not administer a static charge to your equipment. I've installed the mounting the back plate bracket for the cooler. You notice it's slightly offset just because of the screw arrangement, but that is correct. And we have the CPU socket ready to accept the new Core i7, which I will proceed to do. Well, here we go. I wish this thing would focus, but that's the new Core. There we go. The Core i7, and it will be going right in there. Pretty amazing piece of silicon, isn't it? This is not your father's Apple IIe. Okay. It is now installed, and I'm going to move ahead with putting the motherboard into the case and starting to wire everything up. On this case, on this board, you can see it's pretty cool. They have 8 SATA ports, including 4 high-speed SATA 6s, which the new SSDs can access at that rate, which is, I believe, 500 megabytes a second. And then you have 4 SATA 3 ports, so which, you know, for like your CD-ROM, pardon me, your DVD player and other things. And as of today, which is late or early November, I'm sorry, 2011, this is state of the art. There should be an LGA 2011 board about to come out, and chipset that will be kind of the new top end. But right now, they're still putting out the 1366 boards, and I think all things considered, you're better off with this chipset than that, unless you truly need the additional memory or you know, ultra high-end gaming applications, I suppose. At any rate, I will give you an update as soon as I have this board in place. As you can see, now I've installed the cooling head onto the CPU. Remember to plug in your fan or your pump header there into one of your fan headers. I've also installed the USB 6.0 connection to the SSD mounted in the slot here, and then brought an external SATA connector, power connector, to the back of the drive. And connected the front panel, LED lights. Also, this is the fan header for the hard drive bay fan. You got to connect that. Got your IEEE port there, your USB ports. So far everything has been very smooth. I've got the first power connector in. Of course you have to put your back plate in. I didn't show that, but you want to put your back plate in before you put your motherboard in. That went in without a hitch. And now at this point I just need to finish. I have to open up the back of the case to give myself a little more room to move these SATA connectors to these SATA 6 ports. These are SATA 3 connectors that are built into this machine. However, SATA 3, the cabling is identical to SATA 6, so these should deliver SATA 6 performance if you can get them into those SATA 6 ports. The machine does have this proprietary backplate. I'm not positive if that backplate is going to interfere with the ability for a SATA 6 signal to go through. I would think that it's just a simple pass-through and there won't be an issue with that, but we'll see. Opening up the back of the Blackbird case is a little trickier than opening the front, but not substantially. If you take a look at your manuals, you'll see that it's pretty straightforward. There's a retaining screw on the inside that goes, getting snagged here, that goes, I believe, there, that you have to unscrew from the inside, which I've already done. Then there's an inlay that goes into this area. You just pop it off by gently lifting it from here, then lift it out of these areas and the whole thing pulls out. You then have to take off these 3 screws, then you'll have access to the back with no difficulty, which I'm going to do now, and then I'll show you the back. Here is the back of the Blackbird. You can see here's the proprietary plate that mates to those slide-in trays. There's 5 SATA ports that are hooked to it. Also, you've got some LEDs up there and all sorts of good stuff. There you can see the back of the motherboard. Once you remove the back, you have great open access to the motherboard. I got the mounting bracket installed, which of course mates with the top part. And then these cables, I believe, are just lighting. They've got LED lighting in the top and the front of the case, and those are power leads for it. They do a pretty nice job, you can see, covering all that cable up. It's very tight and very elegant inside when it was originally shipped. My handiwork has degraded that somewhat, but it's still pretty presentable. Again, it's just unbelievable that HP would abandon this product, given all the time and thought that clearly went into it. Here's a view with the machine standing up so you can get a better sense of what's going on. I now have all of the SATA 6 connectors in place. These are SATA 6 up here. These are SATA 3 down there. Of course, the SATA 6 again operate at twice the speed. As far as I'm aware, the mechanical hard drives really can't take advantage of even the SATA 3 speed, so I'm not sure that they have any advantage. But the new generation of solid state drives absolutely do. This new Samsung just came out in the last week or so. Operates at 500 megabytes a second, which is faster than SATA 3 can operate at. So definitely good thing to have, the SATA 6 ports. And you can see the machine. It's got this nice pop-up tray with your photo cards. As a photographer, I really enjoy having a nice compact flash card here. Got your FireWire port, 2 USBs. Now these, I'm assuming, are still going to be 2.0 legacy ports. The USB 3.0 wiring is not the same, is my understanding. You've got a little door here that hides your Blu-ray, and for any of you that actually have them, it can also play HD DVDs, Toshiba's competing version. And then again, here's the back with the cover off. Really just an amazing piece of engineering. When you see this thing, it's astonishing that HP would invest this money and time and then abandoned this project. But I will get off my soapbox and finish installing it and show it to you when everything is all connected. Here is the fully assembled and finished install. I'll close the case up in a minute so you can see the whole deal. But we've got our Dominator memory, the cooling unit, of course the CPU. Not the latest video card, it's a GTX 295. I'm not a heavy duty gamer. This works just great for me. Oh, let me show you more. Back here you can see how great this motherboard is with all these different connections. We have, of course, your audio connections, 2 LAN ports, 2 USB 3.0 ports, which are of course backward compatible, 6 USB 2.0 ports, 3 SATA, including 1 powered SATA port, a FireWire port, a Bluetooth module built in. I mean, this thing has pretty much every possible connection other than Thunderbolt, but I'm not aware of any Intel PC board having that connection. We now have all of the doors and dividers installed. You can see it cleans up very well. This is just a partition door that divides your access areas and compartmentalizes it for airflow, I'm assuming. So I will install the door for this side, and then we'll be ready to move to software. And there we go. We now have the fully assembled, updated, upgraded Blackbird. See how you get access into that. It's really a great system. You can still find some of these cases occasionally online. And it's just a nice overall package there. So that is the upgrade of the Blackbird 002 with the Z68 LGA 1155 motherboard, the 3.4 gigahertz i7 processor, and a SATA 6 SSD. So I'm going to go power this up. The proof is in the pudding, and then I'll create a module here after the software is installed to give you an idea of how quick the boot up times are. Alright, we're ready to try to turn the power on. So keep your fingers crossed. We have power. We have monitor activity. As you can see, we are into the boot menu. So now the fun begins with the software install. After I get that fully installed, I will give you an update so you can see how quickly the machine boots up with that solid state drive. So we've started up the computer. Everything is fully installed now. So get a sense of how quickly the boot time is. Takes a fair amount of time to get through the Asus motherboard routines. Once it gets past that, it's very fast in the Windows. And we're set. It's fully up and ready to go. It's really, you can get a sense of how fast the SSD is when you drill down, and it's just instant, an instant response on any of your folders. I'm going to demonstrate how quickly Photoshop 4 starts up with the solid state drive. Photoshop 4 is a huge hog on my previous system. Even though it was a RAID 0 setup with mechanical hard drives, it would take 30 seconds, something like that, for it to load up and get ready to go. Watch this. And we're in. It's just incredible. Incredible. One last thing. You can see that the Windows Experience Index is a smoking 7.8. The maximum possible is 7.9. You can see the individual subsystem scores are 7.9 for the memory and the hard disks, 7.8 for the graphics card, and 7.8 for the processor. So that is about as good as it gets.